Hi, I'm Daniel Likis, and this is Psychology 101, where the science of the mind shapes the art of living. And of course, my legendary co-host, Mr. Mark L. Christensen.
Great to be here, Daniel. Thank you. Thanks again.
Yes, we are most welcome, Mr. Mark. And how are you, partner?
I'm doing fine. Just breathing oxygen. That's all I need.
Freedom of oxygen. Definitely, people, we are inviting you to please do listen also to our other podcast, Science 101, wherever you listen your podcast. But for Psychology 101, we're still developing our episodes. Once we have enough episodes, we will publish on the podcast itself. But we are live every Monday, Saturday, or every time Mr. Mark is around. So please do tune in. We are live through all social media. And after that, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, as well on LinkedIn. So, partner, what will be our topic for today?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to talk about conscious as a growth product. Consciousness or being conscious as a growth product, and try to get that concept in your head because it is.
Yes.
We're much more conscious today than we were 100 years ago, and we're way more conscious than we were 2,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago. Now, obviously, more conscious than we were when humanity was Greece 5,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because music has come a long way, and that's what Greece was really known for, really developing music. And you could see the evolution of music through all those thousands of years. So you have to become more conscious in order to grow with those things, and also technology. And it's in layers. So let's establish one thing right away. What is consciousness? Well, it's basically being able to react to your environment in any way. So every animal is conscious, not just a human, but even a dragonfly, pretty amazing insect, actually, super conscious. So consciousness is a state of which you can react to your environment and adapt to it and survive and reproduce. But it's a growth process. So let's say a dragonfly is 200 million years old since it's originating. It's around then, but it hasn't changed much. But it was a contributor to, at the time, a major contributor to the growth of its consciousness with its life form and other life forms around it. And it was pushing the growth of other conscious animals, which eventually became, us. So it remained the way it was back then to now. I guess they were like 4 feet long, 4 feet wingspan, something like that. They were huge, but now they're, about 4 inches long. So they're the post-evolution decrease from the environment, decreased a lot since then, so it's much smaller. And dinosaurs turned into birds, and then allowed us to become the leader of conscious growth. Still contributing, we are now the humans are the leader of the growth of consciousness. And it happens in layers. And I would like to say that for humans, at the human stage, it's about developing one technology to establish one conscious level. And then that use of that invention causes more experience that make you more conscious. And then you need another technology because of that layer of consciousness. And those layers just keep happening through the years. And you can see the increase in experimentation and the development of consciousness through the layers of really innovation and invention. And you could look at it like, well, we cannot get any more conscious than we are today without the next invention, because that proves a new reality for us, and it makes us more aware, conscious aware technology. And then also we have concern. So concern, conscious awareness, technology, concern are the cycle in which layers of conscious growth actually happen. Okay. How does it actually grow from us humans? Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Mr. Mark. I will ask you later.
Okay.
Go ahead.
How this machine actually works is through the spread of humanity, all humans. They have individual experiences and individual perceptions of adapting to their world based on fears and then hunger and then identity. So with each person's perception, they are contributing to a collective conscious, because each one of those humans as individuals live in a village. So they're contributing to that village as a whole. So the whole village has one reality at all times based on the contributions of everybody that live in that village or city or nationality or country or continent or globe for that matter. So it's important that the decision of what reality is at any given time is discovered through each input of each and every human being. And that's called the collective conscious, which is the real true consciousness, because with that collective, we're able to assimilate and utilize all the innovations and technologies to invent the next technology, which extends us to be more conscious. And without that technology, we wouldn't be able to grow more conscious. And that shows in every aspect of growth. And we keep thinking our purpose here is to become, a higher consciousness, which really is you can't play on Earth to develop the technologies on a higher consciousness level. You have to be within the growth of your consciousness at any particular time that you're coexisting with it. That's the only way you can truly contribute. And way out people do way out things. And there's been a lot of experimentation that has not ended well for a lot of human beings. But in a way, that is still a contributor to the collective, because it's information and it's also experience, and it's also more cognitive awareness of what reality is. And really, the truest reality that this human collective conscious has to adapt to is its changing environment constantly. So that's the hard reality. That's the only reality that there really is how do we adapt to our ever-changing environment psychologically? Now, I like to ask the question, why? Why? Why do we have to have this? Why do we have to have a consciousness and a growth? I mean, why not have nothing? It's a ridiculous question, because it's pretty fascinating to be conscious. And that alone is a good enough answer of why we have it. But the reason why animals don't develop the technology and humans do is because of, and why this continues also is really important. Why this continues is because of something that I call hidden true origin. So your and I's identity relies on actions so we can signify that identity. So what you do is who you are. That's how your brain knows who you really are. But there's a part of you that does not know who you really are. And that is because you don't know really where you came from. And you kind of don't know really why you don't know. So those two factors are absolute within the cosmos, because the cosmos is helping to hide any evidence of you actually discovering that, which is a giveaway. Okay, it's great to see that. See, we can't find it, and that's the giveaway of the machine right there. It's called hidden true origin. So all of the cosmos, all of the earthly things that we have are hiding that so that we can do what? Why have that? It's pretty obvious. It's so that we can continue discovering and applying those discoveries to conscious growth. It's the growth of consciousness. And it's through layers, and it also enforces brain development, and it enforces the adaptation to new environments, as the ones we live in are less capable of being habitable for us. I hope that didn't go way out too much, but it's about the consciousness being a growth product, and it's being produced as a growth product by the expanding matter in the universe. That's the whole machine right there. And in order to keep it growing consciously and determining new realities is the inevitability of its habitation environment slowly decaying. And this is a galactic rule. It's a cosmic rule. Every planet out there is slowly dying. So the birth of every planet is doomed, and don't mean that negatively, but I do mean it positively in the sense that if you can determine that within yourself and your own place in the world, in your own conscious growth, then you kind of know why and what it's all about. At least you know that much of what it's all about, because every planet's doomed. In fact, the design of that planet was to doom it with its end, its inevitable end. Well, who makes a system like that? Well, we kind of don't know. We call it God. But if you can see yourself in these very short windows of planetary existence, terrestrial life, then you can see kind of what everything is about. It's about igniting consciousness and enforcing it to grow. The growth of consciousness done cosmically. Every planet out there is under the same condition we are. What do you think about that, Daniel?
Well said, Mr. Mark, and fascinating. Yeah, fascinating indeed. So how does developing conscious awareness transform personal growth from accidental progress into intentional development?
Inventional development?
Intentional development.
Intentional development. Well, the natural state of things for a human being is to find a calmness and peace and just basically exist. So in that normal state, there's no intention to develop technologies or to become more conscious of them. You have to need to. So I always like to use the evolution of the seatbelt to show that process, because you have a car that's driving and there's no seatbelt, and when the car stops too quickly, the body moves forward and hits the steering wheel, and in a lot of cases, tragic results. So how do you cure that? Well, you put a belt around the lap belt. So that became kind of something that you can order with the car. It wasn't a law at first, but because of that, the statistics were that the people were surviving car accidents with a lap belt. I'm sorry, and so that became a law later on. It didn't even start in the U.S. It just eventually came to the U.S. Then the lap belt was causing problems. It was abdominal injuries and then still forehead injuries. So they came up with these shoulder belts. But see, each one of these inventions weren't just like, oh, let me sit and think about it. And in fact, all of these inventions through conscious growth came from tragic results. It's seeing the color red and reacting to loss. And almost senseless loss that just drives your brain into something's got to be done. And so then that is where I think, Daniel, that the actual ignition and the intent to develop technologies occurs on all scale.
Well said, Mr. Mark. Well said. So, how does conscious decision making influence long term personal and professional success?
Okay, we're bringing that right down to earth. Um, you're conscious that you're alive, and you're conscious
Mm,
that you have, you conscious that your timeline is shorter than you want it to be, and it depends on how you value that window. Some people really don't value it at all. It's sad. I mean, just none at all. And then some value it way too much. So within that, you know, when area of gauging value of that time window, that ignites a brain to become conscious of what it can do inside that window of time. And so the higher the value you have, the more you're going to act on on producing something in that time window, and it takes a consciousness to do that. And not every human brain is developed the same. We can't forget that some are luckier than others as far as brain processing and thinking, and so not everybody's capable of really valuing their time in order to apply themselves to that conscious level, and some are extremely right there. And you got to thank humanity for producing that, because the Einsteins really are the spikes, the spikes in the collective conscious growth, and then the entire collective consciousness can now rise with it. And without those spikes, you kind of don't have another chance to rise up as a collective conscious through discovery and invention. So the personal,
well,
the personal professional career aspect, it really relies on the value that you have with your time. It will make you conscious, and then that will even it'll snowball and make you even more conscious. That's my take on it, anyway.
well said, Mr. Mark. Truly, truly amazing. And how can conscious growth improve relationships and communication and leadership effectiveness?
Yes. Relationships. Well, there's two types. There's business relationships and personal relationships. And to better improve personal relationships, you have to be able to become more conscious of another person's mental state and condition, and basically the conditions that are imposed on that particular human entity are different than yours. So the more you can put yourself in that shoe, the more you can apply more concern and apply yourself to doing. One great thing about relationships is that you have to, it's basically taking on once you can put yourself in that other person's shoes. This is a personal relationship. Once you can put yourself in that other person's shoes long enough, you can take on their fears and their goals as though they are your own. And there's the click. And that's when that other person knows. See, that other person won't know until you can actually do those two things for the other person in their conditions. And they're not yours. And that's what's difficult about that. They're not your conditions at all. And it's almost like you can fake it and totally contribute once you identify. And that is when the other individual, the other human entity, receives full benefits within a relationship. Is when the other party can do that. And unfortunately, the statistics are kind of like only one party of those two, one person in that party is doing that. And that's kind of how all relationships really function. And maybe the contributing entity of that relationship gets some stuff here and there, but it's not fully equal. So it's one empathetic entity helping that relationship go. As far as a business relationship, you're feeding mouths. You're feeding mouths. So there's a synergy in that relationship with commerce and merchants and customers needing resources. It's basically resources is what business is: food, shelter, and health. So some businesses that can't provide that go out of business. Some businesses that provide more, they don't even know they're providing more, just accelerate. So you can either be conscious or not conscious of your contribution to the entire collective growth, and it's its own large, huge animal with all these different entities, contributing to a collective source again. But as far as a personal conscious relationship, if you wanted to improve it, just make sure that you are a giver rather than a getter. Works every time.
Works every time for sure. And Mr. Mark, to wrap up our discussion for today, why is conscious growth not one-time achievement, but continuous journey of awareness, learning, and transformation?
Well, it's a necessity. It's a global, earthly necessity to grow consciously. And I don't think we're really that conscious of that growth. And I don't think the growth relies on us to doing it. We're just a part of it, naturally contributing with our human inspiration of wanting to survive. So it's kind of all working on its own. You don't have to go out there and enforce yourself to do it. Remember, we're not all capable of full consciousness. We're just not all of our brains are equal. So it doesn't mean you're not contributing. It means that you're a part of everybody contributing to it. So everybody counts. So in a weird way, we're not really cognitive constantly of us and our conscious growth and it contributing. Because we're in the soup. We don't know what the soup is. We're just in it, and soup is made up of lots of things. So you're just kind of like one little spice in a big soup. So you can't really control the whole soup if you're a part of the soup. Now that's kind of a weird analogy, but I thought I'd just throw it in there.
Well said, Mr. Mark. Indeed, very well said. And well, another great episode on Psychology 101. Would you like to plug in your book, Mr. Mark?
Indeed, yes. I'm the author of a book called Fungus Theory of Conscious Growth. You can find it on Amazon, or you can go to my website where it shows a lot of what's in the book, and that's marklchristiansen.com.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Mark L. Christensen, because if you support him for some more and more empowering books like this to rise. So, Mr. Mark, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, thank you again. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
See you next time, people. More to come, people. See you soon.